And it's not a ban. It's a temporary pause so that we can make this community safer.
It's not a ban. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to react to a video with this cuckoo lady over here. Hey, Chrissy, how does that work?
Number one, you cannot put a ban or a pause on our constitutional rights.
Thank you. All right, so guys, we're gonna check this video out. Everybody, this is wild, New Mexico. What's in the water? But I digress. Let's continue.
Heard from the sheriff. He joins the attorney general and others who say they won't enforce it. It's unconstitutional. Why do it if it can't be enforced?
Well, that's their opinion. They have no bold actions.
You know your state is being led by an imbecile when that's their opinion is the response your governor gives to people whose job it is to enforce laws, telling her that a law is unenforceable.
They don't have any plans for reducing gun violence. Every single aspect in terms of preventing gun violence, funds, crime labs, more than $150 million for retention, bonuses, and recruitment of new police officers. I'm focused on one thing. We have the third highest gun-related injuries in the country, 90% higher than the national average.
Sis, why do all these lunatic leftist Democrat liberals, why do they all look the same real quick? This guy, you can just tell, right? And then by the rhetoric they speak.
Yeah, they drink that blue Kool-Aid for sure.
We lost 143 children between 2017 and 2021. It is unacceptable. And it calls for immediate and swift and bold action.
Where is she getting these numbers from? Because according to her best friends at the incredibly anti-gun group Everytown, New Mexico has the 13th highest rate of gun homicides and gun assaults in the US. So New Mexico's not even in the top 10. And those are stats from an anti-gun group that endorsed her campaign.
Man, I like how you're using the facts against him. Hey, this guy's pretty smart, right? Because this guy's like a lawyer right here, Colin Noor. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been in New Mexico. I live right by there. I'm in Texas. I hate going to New Mexico. Hobbs is right next to us, and man, something about New Mexico is kind of cuckoo. But anyways, sis, I like how this guy's using basically, their own kind of stats against him. That's a kind of a good trick to use, right, sis? Or a good way to do this is to use the stats against these people, right?
I mean, absolutely. That she didn't get. I mean, she needs fact checked.
Yeah, ASAP.
Yeah, she needs fact checked because her stats are not correct. And this man, he's an attorney. He is an activist for he believes in freedom to carry and is amazing. Yep. And what she's doing is absolutely unconstitutional. But even more than that, my biggest thing about what she says is she really thinks that she has the power to withhold the Constitution from the people.
Yeah, how does that work? It's a no-go.
It doesn't work.
Let's continue.
Not to mention, over 60% of gun deaths in New Mexico are self-deletions. How does banning the carrying of firearms prevent self-deletions? What is she going to do next? Ban the ownership of guns altogether? She's also trying to use the death of children as justification for her unconstitutional order. And it's BS, and here's why. In New Mexico, an average of 27 children and teens die by guns every year, and 49% of these deaths are homicides. Thing is, in New Mexico, it's illegal for people under the age of 19 to possess or purchase a handgun. So her order banning the carrying of firearms does nothing to protect children and teens because there was already a law in place saying anyone under the age of 19 can't even possess a gun.
Frankly, the evidence bears out over and over again. Fewer guns on the streets makes everyone safer, and I'm focused on everyone's constitutional rights, not just those the NRA says I should be focused on.
Is she really though, sis?
No.
It's kind of like the liberals and these, even like the book worshippers, they love to use the Constitution, when it talking points, right? But like my wife said, sis, my wife said it, and it's true. The Constitution don't mean nothing to them. Sooner or later, the Constitution is going to be they would like to just tear that book up or tear that document up and get rid of that reading material, right? They would love to do that, but they use it when it benefits them and their agenda. Go ahead.
I mean, they try to use it against us and everything.
All the time.
Freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, definitely freedom of speech. Freedom of religion, for the right to carry. And it's just a cry of shame. We have to keep talking about the Constitution. We have to make sure that we vote in people that are constitutionalists and just have to do that.
I agree.
Except the Second Amendment is everyone's constitutional right. The Bill of Rights isn't a buffet menu where you can pick and choose which rights you want to protect and which ones you don't. It's all inclusive. So what she's saying here is nonsense. And please miss me with the outdated trope of blaming the NRA. The sheriff doesn't agree with you.
Criminals do not follow the law or a public health order. Is there a realistic way to enforce this order? No, there is not, because we'll cut that conversation off because it's unconstitutional. So there's no way we could enforce that order.
The Attorney General doesn't agree with you.
It is not going to be upheld as constitutional under close scrutiny.
Your state legislature doesn't agree with you.
You see Democrats, you see Republicans, you see independents saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is a total power grab, and it's an infringement on our constitutional rights.
In a tweet Monday, Democrat State Senator Joe Cervantes of Doña Ana County called on the governor to rescind her order, calling it unconstitutional.
The New Mexico people don't even agree with you.
They waved the American flag, held a number of signs, and displayed their own firearms. Many we spoke with say the governor's order to suspend the act of carrying a firearm in public is going against their constitutional rights.
I've been asked a question. I don't know if he's that same one, but sis, how does she think she's going to get away with this? I mean, this is like crazy. The typical liberal, the lunatic leftist, like she's like going full libtard over here. Sis, go ahead.
I mean, she is. And I mean, whenever you have your own citizens of the state that you're supposed to be governing going against you,
Everybody.
know that, yeah, I mean, something is really wrong. And this man, everything that he's speaking is absolute facts. I mean, you can't, like he said, it's not a buffet menu. You can't choose which it's not trying to go back too much on the library thing, but the same thing with that, you can't say that you don't want the government's reach in this part of your life, but you do in this part.
Yeah.
Our Constitution is there for a reason. Yep.
Amen.
It's there for a reason.
Let's continue.
Hell, this CNN host doesn't even agree with you.
It's not just the NRA.
So it's not just the NRA. Nobody agrees with you. You're just acting like a petulant child, drunk off of power.
Has any law enforcement officer in Albuquerque or the county actually enforced this yet?
Well, we haven't issued any civil penalties, but that doesn't mean that we're not and that we don't have the ability to do that.
But that's a no, right?
This is the pushback I get from every single, well, it's a no this minute, but that doesn't mean that we aren't, and it doesn't mean that we don't have additional police presence.
Ain't that kind of scary to say that? Like
it sounds.
Sis, she's basically saying it's not happening yet. But even if this doesn't pass or it isn't implemented or they don't even listen to her, guys, this is the mindset of the typical liberal, the leftist lunatic. And I would even say someone on the right too. They're just as bad. Kristen, you hate them too. The weenies, the do nothing. The rhinos, right? They're just as bad, if not worse, right? They're supposedly on our side. But guys, this is the way they think. And you got to understand, if they're thinking this, they've been thinking this, and I'm telling you, that's their end goal to the whole situation. Let's continue.
People, I want you to take a long, hard look, because this Hillary Clinton couture suit wearing J. Jill's piece and chain dangling governor is what a tyrant looks like.
Yeah.
When she can't get her way, even though everyone is telling her this order is illegal and won't even try to enforce it, she stamps her heels and clutches her fist and says, I'm going to do it anyway by any means necessary.
And if not this bold action, making sure that you're safe going to the grocery store, you're safe going to a baseball game, my question to law enforcement is, where are you? You are not safe going to work, getting your prescription drugs, or going to a public park. And it wasn't just about a cooling off period. It's about making sure that everyone is safer while we do bolder work to get at both the drug epidemic and the gun violence epidemic.
Ma'am, how is an order that even you said criminals won't follow going to keep people safe? This is the most backward way of thinking I've ever seen. She literally gives.
That's what my son said sis one time. He told my wife, and he's just a little 11-year-old boy, but he told my wife somehow it was on the news or somehow they were talking about it. He said, I don't think that'll work, Mom, to just take guns away, because he said the bad guys are not going to listen. Even a little out of the mouth of babes, right? Even my son knew that it's a no-go. you know, are all, if they make a law to just ban guns or whatever, who's going to abide by that law? This is a very old, argument here, and a good point though. Like, the criminals are not going to listen, sis, right?
And not just the criminals, Nino. You know, I've said this a million times. I am not trying to be Billy Bad Butt up here and act like that I'm all tough and all that, but that it will be over my dead body before they ever come in and take any of my firearms. And I had not listened to this video all the way through. I had heard the very, very beginning, but literally every response that I was going to say, he said, about the tyrant comment, I was going to say she is acting like a complete dictator, wants complete dictatorship over her communities. And you are never going to get guns out of the people that want to have guns in their hand. And it's just ridiculous to think you are. My dad said a long time ago, locks on houses are only for honest people.
And I'm going to go ahead and before I continue on, great point. And I'm going to say this, you're not going to take the guns out of the hands of people that ain't going to let you pry them loose, from the criminal to the patriot. Let's go.
That's right.
Gives examples of criminals not following the current law, only to say she's passing this law to keep people safe, the same law she said criminals also won't follow. Someone make this make sense.
It's not for police to tell me what's constitutional or not. They haven't supported not one gun violence effort in the state of New Mexico, including domestic violence protections, universal background checks. And I know you want to ask me a question, so I'll take a breath, but these are NRA talking points about their rights and not about anybody else's. And it's not a ban. It's a temporary pause so that we can make this community safer.
I'm sorry, but this woman is a idiot. There is no pause button on the Bill of Rights, especially when you're trying to pause constitutional rights indefinitely. She keeps trying to use the NRA as a big bad boogeyman. And no one is buying it. These are not NRA talking points. It's the Constitution, dum-dum. You can't just deny rights because you feel some type of way. The Second Amendment was literally written because of politicians like you. Politicians who think they rule over people instead of represent them. Everyone around you is telling you you're wrong, and this is illegal, and you ignore it because this isn't about saving lives. This is about you wanting to get your way. Nothing more, nothing less. And for that reason alone, you don't deserve to be in office because, ma'am, you are a tyrant.
That's what you said earlier in the beginning of the video, Christy. Like you say, he's saying the same things you're saying, but it's the same sentiment all the way around. But you can't pause the Constitution. This is how it works, and this is how they operate, y'all. I'm telling y'all, this is a tyrant. This is their mindset. Go ahead, sis.
I have been a proud you didn't even have to have an age limit whenever I became a supporter of the NRA. I've been hunting since I was the first time I think I ever held a gun. I was 4 years old. Been hunting rabbit, squirrel, deer, all of those things since I was 5 years old, and been a member of the NRA for I can't even tell you how many years. And so she wants to put them in bad light. No, we just believe in our Constitution. We believe in our constitutional rights. Do bad things happen to good people? Yes, absolutely, they do. But she needs to work more on governing what's going on in her state that's allowing all these bad things to happen.
Also have, Governor, the Constitution of New Mexico and the Constitution of the United States, and you're an attorney. Do you think you're on solid constitutional ground here?
Well, we're going to see. I mean, look, I wouldn't do it if I didn't think I had the right. I have the right.
Where is the right? Where is the right?
In the state of New Mexico. Public health, it's a suspension. Y'all. It's not a ban. And we'll see what all of these court actions do. And
you know what's crazy?
Wasting money.
The right to bear arms in New Mexico's Constitution is technically broader than the damn Second Amendment in the U.S. Constitution. It reads, "No law shall abridge the right of the citizen to keep and bear arms for security and defense, for lawful hunting and recreational use, and for other lawful purposes, but nothing herein shall be held to permit the carrying of concealed weapons. No municipality or county shall regulate in any way an incident of the right to keep and bear arms." This woman could be an octopus, and she still wouldn't have a legal ground to stand on to justify her outlandish buffoonery of an order.
And I did say publicly, Poppy, look, I got a Supreme Court that says my personal bodily autonomy can be restricted, and yet NRA and other issues, the Second Amendment keeps getting broadened.
How are you going to literally engage in the same hypocrisy that you're trying to claim other people are engaging in? If you believe abortion is a constitutional right that can't be restricted, how are you then now trying to ban another constitutional right in the Second Amendment that's actually enumerated in the Bill of Rights? This is clinical cognitive dissonance.
Hypocrite.
And don't see the monumental irony of her complaining about not having the right to prevent a life while claiming she's restricting 2A rights in order to protect the life.
So the Bruin case in New York, right, that deals with concealed carry, and cases in Texas that say you can
Governor,
be
what I'm talking about. You bring up the Bruin case. The Supreme Court last year. Let me just ask you this, because the Supreme Court last year totally changed what we're allowed to do, what you're allowed to do. And they said unless you can base it in the history and tradition, you don't have grounds to do something like this.
Of course, she has a problem with the Bruin decision because it's the Supreme Court saying you can't deny people the right to a concealed carry permit simply because you don't think they are special enough. Any politician complaining about the Bruin decision is completely anti-Second Amendment. It is the most important case in our history that protects the right of people to carry a gun in public for their protection. And this woman is complaining about it when historically states have used subjective standards to prevent people from being able to carry a gun for their protection. And
we need to research that case, but it's pretty good.
She's trying to use that as a justification of why she wants to restrict the right even further.
No municipality or county shall regulate in any way any incident of the right to keep and bear arms. Are you not in violation of both the U.S. Constitution and your state's Constitution?
I don't believe that we are. And if that narrow reading of the Constitution, which has been tested in the state, we wouldn't have universal background checks. We wouldn't have a waiting period. We wouldn't have a red flag law. We wouldn't have prohibitions for straw purchases. None of those would have been deemed constitutional. And today, all of them are.
They were before the Supreme Court
absolute right
ruled
discussions. Fair, but they haven't been tested again.
I mean, there's nothing else to be said here. This is just a clown show at this point.
Yeah.
Good on Poppy for actually calling her on this bullshit. Now, I guess CNN is trying to turn a corner. Or this governor is being so overtly radical that she is messing up the whole fake-ass perception of we just want reasonable gun laws. That said, pay attention to what she just said. They haven't been tested again. These anti-gun politicians know what they're doing, and they're doing it on purpose. They know these laws are unconstitutional, and they also know that the court system moves incredibly slow. So they'll just keep passing anti-gun laws after anti-gun law, no matter how unconstitutional, because they know it will take a while to work its way through the court system, and it's pretty disgusting.
If you're not going to stand up for these kids and really test as hard as you can, getting fewer guns and dealing with gun violence in a meaningful way, then you're basically saying that you won't be responsible to protect the citizens of the state. Well, I will, and I will do everything in my power to turn the tide and to make sure every New Mexican, particularly children, are safe.
You're not going to do shit. You're not going to go out in the streets and try to stop these crimes. You're not going to be the one out there trying to enforce an unconstitutional law. You're going to sit in your mansion with your armed security and do nothing but tell people they can't carry a gun to protect themselves. You're making it more dangerous for people, not less dangerous. You're not gonna tell your armed security that they can't carry guns. So all this pomp and circumstance about how you're gonna step up and do this and that, just sit down and shut up, because it's all BS.
To law-abiding citizens, gun owners in your state, I think they're wondering this morning, is this more about making a statement than about enforcing this?
Do you really think that criminals are going to hear this message and not carry a gun in Albuquerque on the streets for 30 days?
No.
You said no. Are you going to keep doing this? 30 days, take it up to the Supreme Court? Or is this about a statement right now?
No, listen, I can make any number of statements and already have. In 2007, I was very clear about where I stood in my initial congressional race about gun violence. So this is nothing new. But the rates of gun violence in my state, third worst in the nation, are absolutely unacceptable. And while I see that it is getting more challenging to find strategic efforts that keep everyone safe, that doesn't mean I shouldn't do them. And it's not the only thing in the order. It's about public places. It's about making sure we don't have guns at schools. It's about testing for fentanyl in wastewater at schools and other areas where I think that we have a growing problem.
This lady is a bunch of hogwash, sis. How do people like this get voted in?
Nino, I don't understand how people like this get elected in. I think they don't come with the same energy on their platforms. But something that stuck in my head whenever she said this was the 30 days. How many times have we heard 30 days to curb the rise? Yeah. And I mean, it seems to be a 30-day thing. And she doesn't want to go after the NRA. The NRA is the longest holding civil rights organization in the United States. The firearms training, the education, the history, everything that they provide people is absolutely amazing. And this lady is off of her Betty Crocker. She is nuts. And I don't know how people like this get voted in. I really don't. I think, like I said, they come with one platform and completely flip-flop to something else. But she is not good for this country.
Literally didn't answer the question. And she didn't answer the question because she knows the answer makes everything she's doing not only unconstitutional and dangerous, but incredibly stupid.
Are you overreaching? Let me give you a hypothetical, right? You're a Democratic governor who's doing this. What if a Republican governor of a state declares a health emergency and unilaterally outlaws abortion in that state, where the legislature has not done so by statute? Following your logic, would that also be sound?
Oh, she's triggered.
In this situation, honestly, I don't think so. But that is what's happening in this country, is that we've got extremists on this question and on reproductive rights. And the issue about the emergency order, the difference here is I had an 11-year-old that was shot and killed with 17 rounds in a road rage. I got a call from a surgeon whose husband was killed in the exact same way in Albuquerque. Violence is growing. Every single investment and strategy, including a bold call to action, has failed. And here, this is about protecting everyone's rights. The Republican governor is about restricting some rights. I think we're going to see these challenges across the country. But I'm going to stand up for the children, and I'm going to stand up for public safety in Albuquerque.
Look, this woman is a cuckoo bird. The way she answered this last question should be studied as an example of how far some people will go to defend their cognitive dissonance. But she's not really that cuckoo. This is just the first time someone has actually challenged her on this. And her lawyer mind knows she's logically inconsistent, but her goal isn't legal consistency. It's control, and control by any means necessary. That's why she immediately went to the story of the 11-year-old to tug at your heartstrings.
The trick.
But has nothing to do with the legal inconsistency of her order. If a Republican did the exact same thing she's doing right now, but on abortion, she would be screaming just like this.
Don't discriminate.
Wow. Go ahead.
Nino, so you're telling me that she is this upset about and God bless this child that was killed, if that's true, with 17 bullet rounds and all of that. But the innocent baby in the womb that was dismembered and had fingers and toes and limbs severed one by one, that's not that doesn't matter.
And here she is, protesting with the rainbows. Let's finish up here, y'all. This is just crazy, and we'll have our final thoughts.
Against me and keep your hands off my body.
And the thing, the shooting of the 11-year-old happened in cars. It wasn't even with people carrying guns on them in public. It was in a car. The funny thing is, regardless of your stance on abortion, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed is literally written in our Constitution verbatim, whereas any possible right to abortion has to be inferred from the Constitution, meaning she is objectively way more wrong than she is right. Just like Texas, I want to keep New Mexico tactical, along with the rest of the country. This is why I came out with the Keep America Tactical Collection.
And there it is, y'all. A great channel here. You see back over here. So there's nothing new, y'all. We see these leftist, lunatic liberals everywhere. We're dealing with them. Check out the videos in the description and on the channel, y'all. We're actually, going at it with the local blue-haired liberals here about, reading perverted books to children. We're trying to stop that. It just seems, Christy, my final words is this. It's like the left and, their minions are basically against everything that goes against the Bible. We have our rights by our Creator to protect our families and ourselves. Abortion is murder. There are so many things that we can tie to, not even just religious ideology, but just basic, human instincts and whatnot. But the left, they just want to pervert that. And with that, I'll hand it over to you right quick, sis.
You handled it a lot better than I feel right now. Like, I really just am enraged by listening to this lady, because I'm going to take religion completely out of it. We have the right as Americans to live by our Constitution. She is not allowed to infringe upon those rights. People can raise their children how they want, can live the life that they want, but don't pass that same ideology on to me. It gets mad whenever we want our rights to be valid and to be upheld and heard, but then thinks that she has the right to go and do any of that. And I have to say, it's under the complete leadership that we're under now that people feel like that they can do this.
Good point. They're more bold.
Yep.
Wow.
They feel like, like I said, dictatorship, tyranny. It's that's what they stand for. And over not in my world. It's
Amen.
not going to happen.
And with that, y'all comment below what y'all think. Thanks for watching. You're an American. You're a patriot. You got grit. Act like it.